So I'm full of cold and not sleeping, but I really wanted to talk to you about something that is keeping me awake at night, and that is the demise of the mind, body, spirit aspect of aromatherapy. I belong to the British School of Aromatherapy that encompassed everything to do with the spirit, the aura, the chakras, the invisible meridians, and all of that is getting lost under GCMS reports. So it kept me awake last night, so I thought, right, let's capture it amongst the most beautiful sunrise. I don't know if you can see the moon just peeping through, and thanks to my security light, I'm managing to get a little bit of light. So the mind, body, spirit aspect of aromatherapy, what do I mean by that? Okay, so I've come inside because I am full of flu. I've been really poorly, but I have literally been losing sleep over this. So I thought, in the true spirit of holistic aromatherapy, I'm going to get something off my chest in the hope that I can stop coughing. And it is this, that I feel that my lineage of British aromatherapy is completely eroded. And I see my own part in this, right? And so this is a big part of what I want to put right over the next 12 months, if I can. So I want you to bear in mind that I come from a lineage that is completely descended from vibrational aromatherapy or subtle aromatherapy. And the holistic package of mind, body, spirit medicine of aromatherapy. And when I first when I first trained, the very first workshop that we went on when we studied for aromatherapy, we didn't learn chemistry, we didn't learn any of that, that came later. The very first thing that we were taught on our hands-on workshop was to sense the energy of somebody's body, to be able to actually map where their aura was. Now bear in mind, I can already see it, but everybody learned to be able to feel it, to be able to move it, to be able to map the chakras and be able to see where they were, whether they were aligned in the right place, how well they were functioning, and also to know the meridians of the body. Now somehow the meridian side has stayed intact, thanks, I guess, to the work of people like Gabriel Moshe and his books Healing the Spirit, Peter Holmes, now Angela Sidlow and Tiffany Carroll. They're all carrying on that part of the lineage. But the rest has just fallen away. And it's only one part of a really multifunctional, invisible part of energy within our body. Now, when we look at the different ways that the organisations express what the aromatherapy is that they do, many of them will say we deal with spirit, but they won't actually elucidate what they mean by spirit. And I understand that because it is difficult. But if we consider, for example, that Carl Jung said that every crisis is a spiritual crisis, then we understand that this spiritual component of aromatherapy is really far-reaching. And so, for example, the lady that's going through her menopause and feels like she has become invisible, that is a spiritual crisis. The man that feels very guilty because he worries when his grandson's coming over because his grandson is wild and jumps on him and it really hurts his arthritis, that is a spiritual crisis. These are clinical situations that have a spiritual component. And actually, I believe that every single illness has this clinical aspect, this spiritual aspect. And for me, I don't think it's very, very unusual that I've caught a terrible cold, I've got an awful cough, and probably unless I get this off my chest, it's not going to go away. And I understand, right? As we went in from the 1990s into the millennium, every organisation was so keen that we get taken seriously by the clinical field. And that, thank God we did. You know, now we work in hospices, now we work in cancer care. You know, all of these really important jobs that people do are thanks to the work that was done on the clinical side of actually elucidating this chemical constituent does that. And of course, the work done by Tisserand with the safety, and to an extent quality done by Robert Papas. But in actually focusing all our information and our energy on that, the other side got lost. And the other side is still part of what we do. And I think the other issue is that, again, I can see my own part in this. When we've been writing for the internet in particular, we're very aware that we can't say that we treat something, we can cure something, because we don't have licenses. So we have to be compliant to what the Medicines Control Board and the FDA will allow. But truth be told, we do know that it does a whole lot more than we're actually writing. But that knowledge has become so compliant, so clinical, so sterilised that we have lost so much out of it. So I just want to kind of show this from the point of view of an aura diagram. So what you can see here actually is too many rings for this example. But imagine that there are 7, hence why I have delineated 7. So if you imagine that when we are talking about, no, let's phrase this differently. Imagine that when I qualified in the 1990s, we learnt about all of these bodies, right? How essential oils affected all of these different bodies, and how all of these different bodies affected disease or dis-ease, a dis-ease of the spirit. And in the same way, how the chakras worked as locks and pivot points for that. And not on this diagram, but also how the energetic flow through the meridians could be seen and could be manipulated and influenced using essential oils, right? So if I was to elucidate what this diagram means, in concentrating clinical medicine solely on the physical body, we have actually pinned it down to nothing more than this etheric body here, right? So we have sterilised out all of that knowledge over the past 30 years, completely lost it. Now, I have it. If you want me to teach it, I will teach it. But I'm certainly not going to just put it out there for people to go, well, it's just not what we do anymore. But let me talk about what these different bodies do. So, like I said, this first body here, this is the physical template, right? So if we imagine that, excuse me, every one of these chakras locks to one of these etheric bodies. So the first etheric body is locked to the root chakra. The second is to the second etheric body, to the sacral chakra, and so forth. Excuse me. And so this first body, as I say, this is the physical template. This is where you will see disease manifesting. Coughing fit out of the way for a moment. So the second etheric body is connected to the sacral chakra. And so this is the body of will, body of ambition, motivation. So again, you might straight away think, yeah, I know essential oils that work on that. So things like grapefruit, basil, those ones that kind of go-getter kind of oils. That's what you would expect to see here. Then the third body, mental body, well, we do still think about how essential oils work on the mind, don't we? But we don't elucidate it through the aura this way. And in the same way, we perhaps talk about it in a different way, because PTSD and memory locks would be found in here. And we talk about that in a different way. We would talk about PTSD in a different way now. And in the 4th etheric body, this is the emotional body. Well, of course, that's actually what essential oils are best at. But thinking about that in a completely different way, and you think about, well, what's it doing in the body? Well, we can say it's neurotransmitters, but if we say it's neurotransmitters, isn't that more mind, you know? So it kind of starts to make even more sense, actually, when you think about it from the point of view of the etheric bodies. And then, interestingly, this one here is a completely different way of healing. And perhaps you might kind of think about this in terms of the heart's medicine that Jonathan Benvenides used to teach. This is the body of love. This is where we feel the connection, and we have that flow of energy between us. And to me, I noticed somebody, I think it was Paula, said the other day, I don't see anybody putting gloves on when they're using essential oils. What's wrong with that? And I'm like, well, to me, all of the clinical medicine feels exactly like that to me. That you've got like double loads of gloves on, that you can't quite feel it in the same way. So this is the body of love that you would see executed through here, but also you would see issues with love turning up here. And then the stuff that probably you might not even see on an everyday basis when you're talking to somebody, but the 6th etheric body is the body of karma, and there's a whole new discussion about that in a minute. And then the 7th etheric body is the divine body. And of course, not everybody will have a very well developed 7th etheric body. But imagine, right, if you had somebody like Hildegard of Bingen come to see you, and you were purely dealing with her physical body, but all of the manifestation of the main part of her spirit, what she would call viriditas, the greening through the spirit, well, that's out here. You know, you're talking Welsh to a Swahili person, you know. So this is a completely different transmission of information. Now, I am fully aware that the 6th body may be the key to the problem here. That around about a third of the global population of the planet are Christian. And Christians don't believe in reincarnation. And if you don't believe in reincarnation, you would struggle to believe in karma, because karma is executed through several lifetimes, right? So if you're a Christian and you don't believe in karma, then how can you believe that there's something happening in the 6th body? Because that's what's supposed to happen there. So that is a clear, well, we can say conflict of influence, but it's not really, is it? It's cognitive dissonance, really, is what it is. And so again, we've sanitised. In the same way that we sanitised for Google and the FDA, we've sanitised for Christianity. But from my point of view, a third of the global population is Christian. That is colossal. But it also means that 2/3 of the global population don't actually believe in that paradigm. So we've sanitised again for that. Now, this is something that I say off camera a lot, but I am going to say it on camera, that I can imagine that the aura is very difficult for people to understand because they can't see it, right? I can see it. It's not a case of I can see it, I do see it. That's what I see, so that I know that it's there. And I'm sure that in the same way when people actually did, there was a set of experiments done. The lady's name's gone out my head, my poorly head. And she actually was able to measure the aura. the University of UCLA. I'll put a name on the bottom afterwards. But people had said, well, it's never been duplicated. Nobody's ever been able to replicate it, so therefore it can't exist. So I'm going to say to you, tell Usain Bolt that. If somebody else can't do the same as he can, why does he get a medal? You get a medal because you're different and you're special, right? And it means that it is possible. Not everybody else can do it, but it is possible. And in the same way, the aura is there because I can see it, and I can show people how to feel it and even draw it if they want to, how to be able to measure it. And so all of these things have got lost. They've got lost. And I really think I would like to bring them back into aromatherapy. And so, first of all, I would like to say to you, comment and tell me, do you think that this is something that feels relevant to you? And how do you feel about it? Do you feel like aromatherapy has become sanitized? Do you feel like you're missing like the spiritual connection to it? And in doing so, how has that made you feel about your practice? Do you still feel like it's a spiritual vocation in the same way that you were desperately wanted to do it? Do you still feel that in the same way when you do it? Or do you feel like it's become numbers? You know, 1.8 cilio kind of numbers. I'm really intrigued to know. I've got some more thoughts that I want to put down, but that's what I wanted to get off my chest. And to say this feels like a big mission to me, and I'd love to know, are you on the journey? And if you are, anybody else you want to bring along with you? So there we go, mind, body, spirit in aromatherapy.